Hey, how's it going everyone? So in today's video, I'm going to be showing you a couple dozen settings that I have either turned on or turned off in my 2024 Tesla Model 3. This is going to apply to most Tesla models though, as most of the functionality that we're going to be looking at on screen is going to be the same in each of the different models. So I would suggest that you sit in the driver's seat of your own Tesla while watching today's video so that you can choose for yourself if you want to turn on or off these settings that we're going to be looked over based on my recommendations. Let's do it. All right, so let's go ahead in the main screen here and pull up all of these settings. So we're going to see there are many tabs here. We're going to be going over pretty much every single one and then making some suggestions based on everything that is held within each one of these tabs. So first and foremost, under the controls section here, we can see the top row has to do with lighting. So we're going to go ahead and leave this on automatic here. That is a setting I prefer over years of driving in my Tesla, as essentially it's going to turn on and off the high beams depending on whether or not there are other vehicles approaching, especially at night. Now in the second row here we have fold mirrors, child lock. I don't have children, so I keep that on off, as well as window lock as well. Usually that's going to be paired with your child lock settings. And then the glove box. So you can either click on the voice command here to open the glove box or click here. Usually it's going to be quicker to just do the voice command. However, we'll be speaking about later on in the video having a code for your glove box as well, which I personally recommend. But if you wanted to, you can click right here. All right, now in the next row, we have what has to do with the wiper blades. So as you can see right now, I have wiper blades turned to off. I actually like to keep them on auto though, and the reason for this is that the car, based on the cameras and sensors, is going to sense whether or not it has started to rain or even snow and automatically adjust the amount of wiper speed that is necessary to clear the current level of rain. So I usually keep that on auto for like 90% of the time, and then if I really want to change the settings myself, you can just click right here and then click on the desired setting that you want for the current level of rain. So we'll leave that on auto for now. Now from here, the next settings don't really have to do with anything that you'll be turning on or off. Mirrors and steering wheel is for adjusting the mirrors as well as the steering wheel height and distance from the driver. That's something you're going to be doing depending on your driver profile. And then car wash though, if you aren't aware of what that setting is, essentially you're going to want to click on car wash mode whenever you're doing a car wash yourself with a pressure washer or even driving through a touchless car wash, as it's going to lock doors as well as lock the charge port and so on. So we'll click on X for now on that one. All right, now moving into the second tab here called Dynamics. This is where you're going to start changing certain settings depending on your driving style, and I'll give you a couple recommendations. So up top here we have acceleration, which for my standard range Model 3, I only have chill and standard as the two options. This is going to be the same for any standard range or long range rear wheel drive Model 3, or even the four-wheel drive long-range Model 3 as well. If you have a performance version though, you will also have a third option, which essentially allows you to go way over the speed limit in a matter of a couple seconds. I personally leave it on chill like 95% of the time. It consumes less battery, and then it also is going to use your tires less rapidly because EVs have a lot of torque, and if you're using standard all the time, gunning it to the next red light, you're going to be eating through your tires a lot quicker. Now from here we also have steering weight. Ultimately this is really just going to be your personal preference. I have tried all three settings many times over a couple thousand kilometers, and I personally prefer standard. I think it's a happy medium between the two. Now the next thing though is very interesting. Apply brakes when regenerative braking is limited. I personally always keep this on. I've had it on, I've had it off for several months at a time to see what I like, but personally I leave this on all the time. Reason being, when you drive an EV, you really become dependent and used to the regen aspect to the braking, to the point where there's a lot of just one pedal driving, and this is very different from an ICE car where when you remove your foot from the accelerator, your car is going to continue going until you apply on the brake. Now, due to the fact that you're used to using regen braking all the time though, When regen is limited, which as we can see here is usually when your battery is cold or 100% charged, I can attest to this living in Canada. When it's super cold out, regen braking usually doesn't work to the same extent. And what happens is you're driving down the road and you take your foot off the gas and you keep going, thinking you're going to start braking, but you're not. So usually you end up slamming on the brakes. This can be somewhat dangerous, right? So I always leave this on no matter the season. That is a setting I would absolutely recommend. Now the next one, auto shift, which is new and still in beta apparently. I haven't played around with it all too much, but essentially what it is the new Model 3 does not have stocks for either your turning signal or for going into the gear you want, right? Either drive, reverse, or neutral. So what ends up happening is when you're reversing out of a parking spot, for example, you have to, put yourself in reverse, then go back, put your foot on the brake, and go into drive as well. This can be somewhat time consuming sometimes, I suppose. I've tried this a little bit, where essentially it's going to shift into park, drive, or reverse, depending on what the car thinks you're going to do. You can play around with it. I think it does have a little bit more work to be done, as a couple times it didn't fully shift into the correct drive, and I'm still going backwards, even though I'm pressing on the accelerator. So this is something that I would recommend trying out, but they still have a few kinks to sort out. And then finally we have slip start, which it says used to help free vehicles stuck in snow, sand, or mud. Leave this off 99% of the time unless you are indeed stuck. I've used this probably a handful of times in the 5 years of having a Tesla, and specifically only when I am stuck in the snow during winter here in Canada. All right, moving now into the next tab, which is the charging tab. There isn't all too much to change here. However, this tab does allow you to change the charging limit that you want set for your vehicle. So depending on the type of battery you have, Tesla is going to recommend something different. If you have an LFP battery like my Model 3, which for the record, you can check which type of battery you have down in service, no, not service, down in, what is it? Is it software? Yes, down in software, additional vehicle information, and it'll say right here, high voltage battery type, lithium iron phosphate. That's an LFP for this car. My old Tesla Model 3 had an NCA battery, so it would say that right there. Now, depending, like I said though, on the type of battery you have, Tesla is going to give you a different recommendation. In this case, LFP, it says, we recommend keeping your charge limit at 100% and charging fully once per week. Based on all of the research I've been able to do, even with an LFP battery, charging to 100% every single day is not good for the battery's longevity. That is why I keep it at 80%. And this is pretty much going to be the same if you have an NCA battery as well. I personally keep it at 80% for everyday driving. Because I do have an LFP though, I do charge it fully to 100% one time per week, usually once on the weekend. And the only real reason you want to do this for an LFP is it essentially recalibrates the onboard computer's system, analyzing the voltage and therefore giving a better estimate of the total range of the vehicle. It gets a bit more complicated than that, and I have a video explaining it a lot more in detail if you're interested, but that's essentially what I do. If I go on a road trip, always put it at 100%, and then if you need to store it for a couple of weeks or even months and you're not going to be driving it, you're going to want to leave the state of charge on 50%. Data and studies show that this is the best state of charge to keep your vehicle in long-term storage. Other than that, there really isn't much on the charging section other than you're able to schedule your charge. That's not really a setting that you're going to want to turn on or off, but depending on your commuting needs and so forth, you can change your schedule for charging. All right, I'll leave that one up to you. All right, moving into the next tab, which is Autopilot. There are quite a few features here that we're going to want to look over. So up top here, we have Autopilot features, and keep in mind that I currently do not have full self-driving enabled as a subscription on this car. I usually only do it when I'm going on a road trip or I want to make a video about it. I will pay for 1 month worth of the FSD, and then it pops up right here. If you have paid the like 10 grand or whatever it is now to have it permanently, that will show up here. However, we do have two options: traffic aware cruise control, which of course you would want to have on at all times. This is essentially going to accelerate and decelerate based on the traffic in front of you. And then auto steer, which currently is still in beta apparently, will also allow for steering the vehicle and following certain lanes. It's not full self-drive, but this is still something you absolutely would want to have on at all times. That being said, with the new updates, now it takes into account your eyes on the road, which is going to be through this camera up here, instead of relying on the tactile touch of the steering wheel as it did before. So we'll put that on. Now, activating autopilot can either be done through a single or double click, totally your preference. That is a single or double click of this right steering button. I have it on single click. And then from here as well, we have other things such as the offset. Essentially what this is going to do is, depending on if you have it on fixed or percentage, a fixed offset is going to apply a fixed speed offset for all roads, and then percentage is going to apply a percentage offset that varies based on the speed limit of the road in question. So essentially it's going to allow for going above or below the speed limit. I usually leave it on percentage, and then usually I'll put it at like 5%. I don't want to be speeding above the limit too much. Now from here, speed limit warning, I do have it as a display and it comes up right here as I'm driving. This is personal preference as well. For me, having a chime when I'm above the speed limit is just kind of annoying. I have tried it over time, but it's something that I have moved away from. Speed limit as well, we'll just skip over that for now. Forward collision warning is something that I absolutely have come to love about driving a Tesla, and I find it makes it a bit safer to drive, but also makes you a bit maybe of a dumber driver. Essentially what this is going to do is the car is always anticipating the speed of vehicles all around you, and if it thinks you might be coming into contact and colliding with a certain vehicle based on your speed relative to an object or vehicle in front of you, it is going to give you a warning on screen and make a noise. I personally like it on medium. Early, I find it is way too far out to a point where it's like kind of ridiculous, and then late kind of defeats the purpose. So for me, putting it on medium is perfect. Usually I would say maybe around, I don't know, like 15, 20 meters in front of you is when it's going to give you the warning, which to me is the perfect amount of time, if I'm not paying attention, to look back on the road and brake adequately. Now, lane departure avoidance is something that I have off because for me, it's kind of annoying based on where I live in my region. The roads are so horrible, specifically on the sides of certain roads, where if I am intentionally hugging the line, it doesn't like that, and it will essentially go ballistic on me, warning all the time, and will even try to, if I have it on assist, will try to correct back into the road, which is not something that I like. Leaving it on warning is one thing as well, but because this happens almost every day for me, because I hug the line a lot on certain roads, I personally have it on off. However, if you live in the US where roads are pretty much immaculate everywhere, at least in most warmer states, having it on warning could definitely be something I would consider. Now from here, we have a couple more right here. Green traffic light chime. I absolutely love this. When you're at a green light, even if you're 2, 3, 4 cars behind, the car senses that it is a green light, and it's going to do a nice little chime indicating that the light is green. This is something that I absolutely love, so I would absolutely recommend that you leave that on. Obstacle aware acceleration as well is something that when you're at low speeds driving, it's not going to allow you to accelerate into an object that it knows it is there essentially. If we click on I, it says obstacle aware acceleration automatically limits acceleration and may apply the brakes if any obstacle is detected in front of your vehicle while driving at low speed. So super useful in parking lots or whatnot, and this has actually helped me 1 or 2 times from driving into something, so I keep that on at all times. All right, yeah, so moving on into the next tab, we have the locks tab. So this essentially is where it's going to show you all of your active key cards as well as your active phone keys, right? So my phone, my girlfriend's phone, as well as our 2 key cards. Nothing really to show here. We also have the child lock settings. Again, I don't have a child unless you count a miniature wiener dog as a child, which I guess he kind of is, but he's not using the doors. So I just have this on off for now. However, if you want, you can choose both or left and right rear doors as locking. You can also do the same thing for window lock, right? You can choose to lock all windows, and that is something that I keep on off as well. Walk away door lock. So this says automatically lock your doors and trunks when leaving with your phone key or fob. 100% that is something that I love about the car, right? Essentially, your car is not really on, so you come up to a parking spot, put it in park, open the door and leave, and the car automatically detects that your phone is at a distance, and it locks all of the doors as well as the trunk and front trunk. So that is something I absolutely would recommend leaving on. However, I'm noticing here, this is new, exclude home. I guess if you do not want to lock it immediately when you're at your home, which it can sense based on a geolocation that you will set for it, you can choose to do that as well. Up to you based on your preferences. Now, a driver door unlock mode is also something that I have kept off. Well, take a look at what it is though. When enabled, the driver door and charge port will unlock when the key is detected near the driver's side of the vehicle. Holding down the interior driver door button will unlock the rest of the vehicle. So essentially what this is doing is that it is going to only unlock the driver door when you walk up to it instead of all of the other doors as well. This is essentially just something that I found to be kind of annoying because I usually leave the house with my girlfriend. So if this is on, only my door is going to be unlocked, and then I have to come in and unlock her door from the inside. So I kind of found that to be a pain, but depending on, I don't know, if you live somewhere where you think people are going to be coming into your vehicle while you're walking in, maybe you would want to have that on, but for me, I just leave it on off. Now from here, the next feature is hands-free trunk, and it also has a new setting excluding home. So essentially hands-free trunk, when you have your phone key on you and you walk to the back of the vehicle, it's going to sense that and start doing a 3, 2, 1 sort of countdown with a beep and then automatically open. This is something that for me personally is just not really useful, so I keep it on off. However, if you do a lot of groceries or whatnot and your hands are full at the store, this could definitely be useful. The reason why I actually left it off was because of not having exclude home. And what I mean by this is, the way I park at my house, I need to walk around the back, and it would always sense the phone and start opening the door, or at least doing the beeping, which was really annoying. But having exclude home is actually really useful. Maybe I will try that out again. And then right under that though, we have unlock on park. Unlock on park, absolute must. Essentially, even if your doors are locked while you're driving, as soon as you click on park, or you do park your vehicle, the doors unlock. This is just personal preference. I like that because otherwise you have to unlock the doors before leaving. From here, the next section has to do with car left open notification. So these are notifications that are pushed to your phone key. And you can set this for doors and windows, or just doors or off. I actually have it right now for doors and windows, but I am going to actually leave that as is, but exclude home. Reason being, often when I drive home, I don't necessarily lock some of the doors when I'm walking in because the phone is still like really close to the car, so it's not far enough to lock the doors. So then I end up getting notifications. I kind of never really thought of it until right now, but having exclude home is super useful, because every once in a while I will get multiple times a week actually a notification on my phone telling me that the doors and windows are unlocked, even though it is in the garage at my house. Kind of just annoying. Lock confirmation sound is just, the standard. You walk away from your car and it's going to make a noise. I personally like that because I'm not always looking at the vehicle when I'm walking away, but I can get that audio confirmation essentially. And then close windows on lock as well. I don't know why you wouldn't want to have this on. If you left a window open and you're walking away, why wouldn't you want all of the windows to lock at the same time anyways? Unless you're begging for someone to come and steal stuff in your vehicle. So that is something that I keep on at all times as well. Moving down the list here, in the lights section, we have headlights. So automatic headlights, I always keep it on auto. When you're driving at night, essentially this is going to turn on the headlights when they're needed, and if you're approaching another vehicle, it will turn them off automatically. So that is really something that I find useful. Auto turn signals is another thing that I absolutely love. So basically, when you have your turn signals on, the car will sense if you've made said turn, either a full 90-degree turn or even just a lane switch, and then it automatically cancels the turn signal, which I think is super useful. From here, adaptive headlights, auto high beam and adjusts headlights for curves. I have that on Honestly, don't really know how that works in practice, but I just have it on. And same thing with headlights after exit. I've had those on pretty much since I purchased the car, and I haven't noticed anything to be, unenjoyable about that. So I just have those on. And then finally, accent lights. I also have them on. However, I usually just have them on night only. Essentially, it's that accent lighting around the vehicle. Really nice touch, especially at the beginning. It's kind of cool, but it is a little bit gimmicky. But I do like having it at night. And so that is going to turn on that light only when it is in night mode. And essentially also it's just going to be using a little bit of battery, even though it's a tiny amount. During the day, you don't even really see them anyways. Next up, we have the dome lights, which I have on off, and when I want to turn them on, I just click on them myself. I don't really see why you would have these on all the time. And then footwell lights, those are the lights that are down here. I personally love that, especially at night, so I have that kept on as well, but that is just a matter of preference. Now in display, we have the appearance up top. I keep it on auto. I personally like having the light screen during the day, and then at night it's set to dark automatically, which I personally really like, so I keep that on auto. And then blue light automatically adjust to warmer colors at night. That is also something I keep on. It's basically just not straining your eyes nearly as much, so that is something that I like. Now from here as well, brightness, I just keep it on automatic because it's gonna know how much light there is and how bright it is outside and adjust the screen automatically. If I had it set on 36 all the time, that wouldn't be adequate right now, so I just keep it on auto, and then it is currently sensing how bright it is outside, and you can see it is going up. We'll just put it back to 100% because we can actually see it. It is pretty bright out right now. Automatic blind spot camera is also fantastic. Show side repeater camera when turn signal is engaged. Absolutely love this feature. Essentially, it turns on the turn signal, it turns on the camera when you have the turn signal on. That is something I like to rely on as well, and think it is a great feature. Moving down in the display section, we have screen clean mode. Essentially, if you're cleaning your screen from dust and smudges, you would want to put it on that. Nothing really to show, other than the fact that you're able to see the smudges a lot better. And if you wanted, you can also lock the rear display. That is an option if you don't want your kids to be playing around with the rear screen. And moving on, the next setting has to do with scroll wheel function. So this has to do with the left scroll wheel here, which is probably out of screen, but it is the left scroll wheel. Essentially, you can choose what you want it to control, from fan speed, folding the mirrors, defrosting the car, the dome lights, or whatnot. For example, let's do the dome lights. No, they're not in screen. Acceleration mode, let's do that, for example. So if you long press on the left, it is going to come up to the acceleration mode, and you can choose chill or standard. I personally like to have it on the temperature because I like to be able to just do it keeping my hands on the steering wheel while I'm driving instead of looking at the screen right here and having to do it manually. So that is just personal preference though. I keep it on temperature. Everything else is relatively standard. You can change kilometers or miles. I'm in Canada, so I have it in kilometers and Celsius. But that is of course up to you as well. And then the energy display up here, you can either have it as a distance or a percentage. The reason why I keep it as a percentage though is because over years of driving, I personally find it to be a bit more accurate and relevant because the distance is constantly changing relative to your driving, the outside temperature, the conditions, and so forth. So I don't really find it to be that accurate versus percentage. It's like, okay, I know if I'm at 30%, I don't have much battery left. But looking at distance, well, that can change a lot and very rapidly, so I don't find it to be all too relevant. All right, next up we have the safety section here, where we have the top setting being Sentry mode. So you probably know what Sentry mode is already. If you have a Tesla, essentially it is going to be recording around the vehicle in case someone comes and vandalizes it or whatnot, right? Personally, I leave Sentry mode on pretty much all times, even though it does consume more battery, If I'm on a longer road trip, I might turn it off due to the fact that I do want to conserve more battery, but most of the time I leave it on. And then this is actually new though, or maybe it's not new, but I wasn't aware of it. Exclude home, work, and exclude favorites. That is definitely something that I do think was necessary. I'm going to click on exclude home right now because I park in a closed garage with just my vehicle, so there is really no need to have it home, and it is going to be using battery. And actually, it does consume quite a bit of battery, especially in the winter. It can go down a couple percent a day, up to like 10% a day, if there's a lot of movement around the vehicle. Like one time I parked at the airport and I kept checking the car. It was going down like 10% a day. Once I turned off Sentry mode, it was basically going down by maybe 1% a day. So just keep that in mind. Next up, camera-based detection. When camera-based detection is enabled, Sentry mode will use the vehicle's external cameras in addition to vehicle sensors to detect a security event while parked. Not sure why you wouldn't have that on, so just put it on. Disable Sentry sounds, I have that on off. And then view camera via mobile app. Absolutely love that feature because essentially what it allows you to do is that you're able to look through the camera live. If you do have, however, you need to have premium connectivity, but you're able to look through all of the cameras in the app, which is something that I really like when I'm like on vacation or whatnot, and the car is parked long-term at, say, the parking lot, or even if I'm leaving the car somewhere else. Like one time I had it at a maintenance shop and I was able to see what was going on through the vehicle. Automatic blind spot camera, show side repeater camera when turn signal is engaged. Thought we looked at that earlier. Anyways, keep that one on. Blind spot collision warning chime is also one that I personally like to have on. It essentially is going to give you a chime when there's a potential collision detected while you're leaving the lane. Essentially, if you're driving, someone's in your blind spot, let's say, it is going to let you know it's there. And that's on top of the little new LED light that is in the tweeter on the new vehicles, which I like as well. In fact, that is the next one right here, blind spot warning light. You can turn that off. I like to leave it on. It is a red light in both of the tweeters that comes on when someone is approaching. Pretty standard in most vehicles, but it was not there on my 2021 model. And then from here, valet mode, I have it on off. Pin to drive, pain in the ass. And glove box pin though, that is something I do have on in case someone ends up breaking in the car. Sure, they could just crowbar it open, I'm assuming. However, it just gives one extra layer of security. For example, let me show you what that does. To open the glove box, you need to put in your pin. So I personally have that on. And then for cabin overheat protection, so that's kind of a cool feature if you park outside a lot and it either gets really cold or really hot in the vehicle. So what this does, let's say your car is baking in the sun, it is going to cool down the cabin so that it doesn't get to like 110 degrees in the cabin, which can potentially damage some of the surfaces, crack out the leather, and so forth. So I have that on. However, do keep in mind, the reason why they have no AC as an option is because it is going to use up a lot of energy if your car is, say, parked outside for days on end and it's using AC constantly. It is going to use a lot of your battery to keep the cabin cool. But I personally choose to keep it on, and then you can choose whether you want it to be 30 to 40 degrees Celsius in here. Lower volume and reverse, I'm actually gonna go ahead and put that on. It's pretty loud with the spaceship noises when you're reversing, so let's remove that, or at least lower it. And then you can also power off the vehicle from screen. A lot of people don't know that, but you can do that here as well. All right, now we have almost made it. Going into the next section, service. There's quite a bit to look at here, but essentially all you really need to know is that you can see your tire pressure. Mine, in fact, are low because it's winter and it's really cold out. I'm gonna have to top those up. Recommended pressure, 42 PSI. And then there's a bunch of things here. We'll quickly go over it, a couple of the more important ones, all right? Camera visibility, that is new. It is going to tell you here, depending on which camera, if there are any visibility issues like dirt, dust, or whatever that is impairing their vision. Wiper service mode, when you want to change your wipers, you're going to want to click up here. It will lift them up a little bit, as you can see, making it easier to change the wipers. Same thing for car wash mode. You can also access it right here. Towing, you're going to want to make sure you put on towing mode if you're being towed so that it doesn't damage your vehicle, as well as any of the components in there. And when you're done, you can click on end tow mode like that. vehicle is free rolling, exit tow mode. So as you can see right there, it allows the vehicle to free roll so that, you know, the vehicle can be towed effectively. A couple other things: you can factory reset your vehicle, clear browser data, reset, calibrate the cameras, as well as preview all the cameras from here. And then we can also recalibrate the driver's seat, steering wheel, mirrors, and even remove save locations. If you have a geolocation for, say, folding the mirrors and so forth, well, you can change those from here. And then from here we have the navigation tab with a couple more settings that you're going to want to play around with. So up here we have navigation volume. I personally hate it when navigation's speaking to me, so I always leave that on off. Use HOV lanes I also have on off, which is high occupancy vehicle lanes. That is something I keep off pretty much at all times because I'm driving alone. So keep that off if that is the case for you as well. Automatic navigation is also something that I keep on off, basically just because of my lifestyle. I work for myself, so I don't want to automatically have the car routing to work or home when I'm getting in the vehicle. If you're someone though who does commute pretty much the same every single day, this might be something that you want to leave on. Trip planner is another thing that I always keep on. Essentially, when you set a destination for your car to navigate to, if your Tesla is estimating that you'll run out of battery, it will add charging stops if necessary. So that is something I don't see why you would have off. Same thing with online routing, which finds the optimal route based on traffic conditions. Keep it on. You do have to have premium connectivity though, but this is going to save you time. And then from here, avoiding tolls, I personally have it on because here in Canada, we don't really have any to begin with anyways, and there are always free options. If you're in the US though, that might be more difficult because I know there are a lot of tolls and maybe it would take way more time. I have it on avoid tolls though. And then finally, speed camera chime, 100% an absolute must. If you have a destination in your navigation and there's a speed camera, it will chime in the vehicle alerting you that there is a speed camera. Not sure why it is only when there is a destination in place though. It should be all the time, but of course leave that on. So there you have it, a bunch of settings that you can play around with on your Tesla. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave it a like and subscribe for more Tesla related content. If you want to purchase a Tesla, by the way, always a good idea to use a referral link. You can use the one I have down below in this video's description. And if you want to purchase any accessories for your Tesla Model 3 or Model Y, make sure to check out my Amazon storefront, link down below in this video's description. If you buy something, I will get a tiny little kickback and it really helps support the channel. Thanks a lot for watching. Check out one of these two videos right here and I'll see you in the next one.